Hi boys and girls, I'm back again to read you another story. I have a fun story about a family with a fun dog, and the family's name is the Petersons. The dog's name is Woof, and the story is called Woof's Bad Day. It's written by Danae Dobson and illustrated by Dee DeRosa. There was a warm breeze that flew through the open windows of the Peterson station wagon as it glided along down the highway. "Are we almost there yet, Dad?" a boy asked from the back seat. "Not yet, Mark," answered his father, turning down the radio. "But there should be a sign coming up soon." And a mile or two later, the Petersons could see an old wooden sign. It said Pine Ridge Recreational Campground. The arrow was pointing toward the turnoff. "Oh boy," exclaimed 10-year-old Chrissy, "I can't wait to see what it looks like." The two Peterson children kept close watch as they turned off onto the mountain trail. This was going to be a trip they would love. They'd been looking forward to it a long time, and the fun was ready to begin. A sleepy dog in the back lifted his head up to look around. His crooked ear flopped over one eye as he took in the view, stopping only for a few seconds to yawn. "Wake up, Wolf," said Mark, seeing his furry friend was not his usual perky self. "It's no time to sleep. We have a big day ahead of us." Wolf lay back down in the seat and sniffed at the picnic basket beside him. He could smell the salami sandwiches, and they held his attention for the time being. Wolf was a really good dog, but he was a little greedy when it came to food. He loved to eat almost anything. In a short while, the Peterson station wagon pulled into the entrance of the campground. "We're here!" shouted 6-year-old Mark, opening the door excitedly. "Don't go too far," said their mother. Wolf bounded behind them. Mark and Chrissy stopped and looked at the beautiful scenery. There were tall pine trees surrounding the campground, and the morning sun shone brightly on a nearby lake. Some campers were there fishing, while others sat near their tents. After a few minutes, Mark and Chrissy went back to help set up camp, while Wolf trotted around to explore the forest. He came upon a big log. As he saw the log, he saw a creature. The creature, known as a chipmunk, was very fascinating, and he wanted to get a closer look. He stared at the log with his pink nose wiggling, and suddenly the chipmunk dug back in the log. Wolf peered in the opening and wondered why this little friend kept disappearing so fast. He learned the reason why really quickly. Growl. Oh my goodness. A mighty roar shook the forest. Wolf wheeled around to see a large bear towering over him. He stood up angrily on his hind feet, and Wolf's heart jumped into his throat, and he ran back to camp as fast as he could go. The angry bear was right behind him. Fortunately, Wolf could run very fast, and he dodged the trees, went through the thicket, and finally the bear was thrown off the trail. The Peterson family was taken by surprise when he came tearing back through the campground. "What happened to you?" asked Chrissy. "Wolf looks like he's seen a ghost." "Come on, boy, let's go have some real fun." Wolf crawled out of the tent and followed Mark and Mr. Peterson slowly down to the lake. He was still a little frightened, but he felt safe now that he was back with his family. He wished he could make them understand what had happened, but there just wasn't any way for a dog to tell people. While Mark and father fished at the lake, Chrissy and mother prepared the lunch that they had packed in the picnic basket. They wondered why one of the sandwiches was missing, but it wasn't too long before they figured out who was to blame. "That sneaky little dog," exclaimed Mother. "Doesn't he ever get enough to eat?" "I don't think so," said Chrissy, "but one of these days his appetite's going to get him into trouble." Back at the lake, Mark and his dad had caught 5 fish. Wolf was having a wonderful time splashing in the water. He was also trying to catch some fish, too. Wolf had finally forgotten about the bear as he jumped in and out of the water. He was having so much fun he almost didn't notice another strange-looking animal. Wolf walked to the shore and shook himself dry. He spotted the odd-looking creature. He ran off to make a new friend. Look who this new creature is. Wolf ran right up to this animal, one he'd never seen before. It was round, ball-shaped, with points all over its fur. Wolf sniffed at it curiously. He'd never seen a porcupine before. The porcupine did not appreciate Wolf's company at all and tried to wobble away from the annoying dog. But Wolf continued to run around and play barkfully, nipping at his tail. Mark heard the dog barking and came out of the water to check on him. "Wolf, get back! Get back!" yelled Mark, knowing he could get hurt. But it was too late. Poor Wolf had sharp quills sticking in his face and nose and ears, and he started yelping. "Oh my," said Chrissy, "he's really having a bad day. What happened now?" "He had a little disagreement with a porcupine," Mark told her. Mother wasted no time in taking out her first aid kit and going to work pulling out each quill gently and putting a little bit of medicine on the wounds. By the time she was finished, Wolf felt a lot better. He watched the family eat lunch and talked about the fish they had caught. When they were through eating, Mark and Chrissy asked the father if they could go for a hike. "Yes, if you don't mind me going with you," he replied, "because there are some bears around the campground. It could be dangerous." I know, Wolf thought to himself. As Wolf lay on a blanket near the tent, there was a wonderful smell. His nose was strong and gathered it quickly. He glanced over to see what Mrs. Peterson was doing and saw she was reading. Maybe I'll just go see what I'm smelling, he thought. As Wolf was wondering how he could get some of the scraps that the people were deciding to leave at a picnic that he smelled from nearby, he waited for them as they put their things in the trash and left. And he finally had all the garbage can to himself. He quickly turned the can over, spilled out the contents, and ate up all the leftovers until he was really, really full. When Mr. Peterson and the children returned from their hike, they immediately noticed the dog was missing. "Where's Wolf?" "Oh," Mrs. Peterson said, "I'm not sure. He was right here when I was reading a minute ago." Just then, an older man in a plaid shirt walked up to the Petersons. "Do you guys own a dog?" "Yes," said Father. "He's missing. Have you seen him?" "I believe so. Unfortunately, I think he's not feeling too well. He's lying on the ground over here." "Let's go," said the Petersons. And when they got there, they did see Wolf lying on the ground. Oh my goodness, he had gotten himself into a mess. He was flat on his back, his big belly was round, almost twice its normal size, and his legs sticking right up in the air. Oh my goodness, he ate too much. Mark and Chrissy tried not to laugh as they lifted the dog up and carried him back to the tent. "You've really done it this time, Wolf," said Mark as he struggled to carry the overfed animal. "I hope you've learned your lesson." "You're a glutton," said Chrissy. "You should be ashamed of yourself, Wolf." Wolf did feel a little bit foolish, but whenever he thought of all those yummy ribs and fat and meat, he smiled again. For the rest of the afternoon, he stayed on his blanket near the tent while they played frisbee and horseshoes and lots of things. Wolf couldn't play. The sun started to set, and Father began to build a small fire. "Is dinner going to be ready soon?" asked Mark. "I'm starved." "Yes," answered Mom. "We're going to fry the fish you and Dad caught this afternoon." "I don't think Wolf's going to find that food very tempting," said Chrissy. "No, probably not." All was peaceful at the campground as the Petersons thanked God for their food and enjoyed their meal by the fire. In the distance, they heard flickers of lights while other campers also were building small fires. Just as Mark was reaching for the marshmallows, a young boy walked up to their camp. "Hello," he said. "I'm Jason Foster. My dad was the one who told you about your dog this afternoon." Oh, yes, said Mother. We're just getting ready to roast some marshmallows. Would you like to join us? Well, all right, said Jason. I came by to see how your dog is feeling. He seemed to be in bad shape this afternoon. Woof was in bad shape, all right, said Chrissy, but he seems to be doing better now. Let's just say he's overloaded for the time being. The Petersons laughed and looked at their dog. Woof opened one eye and lifted his crooked ear, but he was too exhausted to respond. He only wanted to sleep and get over his afternoon feast. But the rest of the night, the Peterson children sang by the fire and talked with their new friend Jason. They were having so much fun they hardly noticed it was getting late. It was almost 9 o'clock. Mark, Chrissy, it's time for bed, reminded Mother. I best be going anyway, said Jason. He stood up to dust off his jeans. My dad is waiting for me. Well, thanks for stopping by, said Mark. Maybe we'll see you tomorrow. Wait, said Chrissy. Since tomorrow's Sunday and we're going to have a church service, would you like to come? I don't know, said Jason nervously. I've never been to church before. Oh, it won't be a regular service. We're just going to have devotions out here on the mountain. How about it? Well, I'll have to ask my dad, said Jason. Be here at 10 o'clock in the morning if you can come. Okay, said Jason. We'll see. When morning came, the family was awakened by birds singing in the trees, and Woof was actually already up and looking forward to breakfast. Mark found him by the lake trying to catch a fish. His stomach was still a little oversized, but his energy had returned. Woof, Woof, he said. Here, boy, here, boy. Woof was soaking wet as he bounded across the shore. Come on, Mark said. Let's go back to camp. When they returned, Mother was frying eggs and sausage in a skillet over the fire for their breakfast. Now you stay away from our breakfast, scolded Chrissy, as they all laughed. Mr. Peterson stood up and saw Jason and his father coming. So glad you could join us. Hi, said Mr. Foster. Not really into religion, but you are such nice folks I wanted to hear what you have to say. Everyone sat in a circle as Father opened the Bible and began to read. He read from the Gospel of John. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. What does that mean? Asked Mr. Foster. Father explained that how Jesus came to take away man's sin by dying on the cross, that he loves each person as though we are the only one on earth. Jason and Mr. Foster asked lots more questions, and Mr. Peterson answered them by reading from the Bible. They closed their devotions with a prayer, and they thanked God for all the blessings that he's given. As they finished, Chrissy turned to Jason and smiled. I want you to have this. She handed him her Bible. Thank you, said Jason gratefully. I've never read the Bible before, but I sure will now. Well, that's nice of you, said Mr. Foster. I'd like to read it too. I have one last special verse for Woof, Mr. Peterson laughed. Bending down and looking straight into Woof's big brown eyes, he read Haggai, chapter 1, verse 6. You eat, but never have enough. They all laughed at that. He didn't understand why everybody was laughing, but he wasn't really interested in the dog crunchies in his bowl. He had his mind on something else. He went back down to the river to see if he could catch some more fish. But that's not what happened. Instead of him catching a fish, something caught him. Whoa! Woof howled with surprise. He twisted and turned in the water. It was a turtle that hung on to him. Woof ran up the road as fast as he could go. The turtle was bouncing along behind. Oh no, Woof is in trouble again, said Dad. Mr. Peterson called the dog to him and quickly pried the turtle's jaws off his tail. We better get Woof in the car before he gets himself killed, said Chrissy. Everyone waved goodbye as the station wagon rattled off down the dusty road. Well, at least one good thing came from Woof's mischief and gluttony, Mother said. What's that? Asked Mark. We never would have met Jason or his dad if it hadn't been for Woof's mischief. But because of it, we got to know them, and they came to know Jesus. As the Peterson family laughed and talked about the trip, Wolf poked his head out the rear window. He felt the soft breeze against his face. He'd learned some valuable lessons this weekend that he would not soon forget. But as he was thinking about his misfortunes this weekend, he smelled something in the air. He sniffed the air and became excited. His tail started to wag. He leaned further out the window, and just then the Petersons' car drove past a sign that read, Arnold's Rib Joint, half a mile ahead. Wolf's tail was wagging happily. Wolf can never get enough to eat. Sometimes we feel like that, don't we? But this was a great story about a great family, and I know you're enjoying time with your family. I missed you so much, and hopefully I'll be together with you again soon for another story and then maybe another Zoom lesson. Bye, boys and girls.